Okay, so I was supposed to do videos on other games, and some of that I even has the scripts done, but ever since Crimson Desert has come out, it's kind of been the game that's taken over my life. So I decided, you know what, it's going to be a while before I make a video on this game. Let me just make one now while I'm busy playing it. So now I've put about 80 hours into the game. I thought, you know what, I think it's a good time for me to talk about the game, and if the game is actually worth your time to invest. Welcome to Stay Tuned on Gaming. I'm your host Damon, and I talk about video games to see if they're actually worth your time investing. Today I'm talking about Crimson Desert. Now, I'm not going to have a script for this video. I'm just going to go off my emotions and talking, so I might ramble a lot in this video. So if you want to see more videos where I actually do have some scripts, please subscribe to the channel. Comment down below about Crimson Desert. Obviously, whether you love it, whether you hate it, and do you think it's actually worth the time to spend money on and play it? But yeah, today I'm going to ramble a lot. Now, like I said, I spent about 80 hours into this game, and Crimson Desert, it has been those games where I feel like I just get lost in it. I super love this game. Now, if you don't know what it is, it's basically an open world RPG, basically, I would say. I would even call it a puzzle game because of how many puzzles there are, but it is so much fun. Now, when this game came out, there were so many mixed reviews on it. It's either was really a game that people super loved or a game that people super hated. But I was watching this real time and thinking to myself, why is so many people hating on this game? It's like they had an expectation of what they wanted the game to be, and then it didn't match it, and then they completely hated it, and they completely turned onto the story and turned onto the game itself. So I'm going to try to break it down into like 3 different stuff, and then I'll give you thoughts on what I think works and what doesn't work as well. So obviously it's going to be story, graphics, and then gameplay. So let's just break down the story. Now, this is the first thing you hear a lot of people critique about this game is its story, saying that it's not that good, it's not that interesting, and it takes forever to get into the game story. First and foremost, this is an open world game and it's an RPG. Most RPGs, their stories don't get going until, I would say, hour 5 or hour 7. And yeah, there's things in there that could hook you to be interesting, but when it comes to most RPGs, it can take a long time before the story actually starts to go anywhere. And while this isn't a traditional RPG, it does have a lot of those elements in it. Now, when it comes to the story, it's not that bad. Like, people make it sound like it's the worst thing in the world, and it really isn't. You play as Cliff, who's part of this group called the Greymanes, and they kind of protect this area called Pyloon. But one day they're attacked by the Black Bears, who kind of just split the group up, and I think killed Cliff. Cliff is then brought back by some magic in Abyss area, and he's been told that he has to basically try to connect the world of the Abyss and do some other stuff in it. Can't remember a lot of this section. And then from there, Cliff is now in the world of Pyloon, which is not Pyloon, Pywal, sorry, and he's just navigating the complex political structure of this world and all the factions in it, and at the same time trying to find all the Greymanes in the world and bringing them back together and take back Pyloon, his home area. And that's basically the story. Now, in the beginning, the story is very slow, and it's setting up a lot of stuff, a lot of lore, a lot of characters, a lot of places, and of course the Greymanes themselves. So there's 2 stories kind of happening here. It's Cliff, the Abyss, and then trying to rescue the world from it. At the same time, he's dealing with all these political powers and the different factions. And then on the other end, you have all the Greymane stuff, bringing the Greymanes back, rebuilding them, and then trying to take back Pyloon. And that's kind of what the story is. And it's very slow in the beginning. But I have to admit, as the story goes on, it becomes way more interesting. I actually start to like a lot of the characters that the Greymane has, and I actually like a lot of the characters themselves. What I will say is that Cliff is kind of boring. Like, it is not an amazing character. He's very stoic, and he doesn't have a lot to say. He's more of an action guy. He mostly does his actions instead of talking a lot out of his feelings. He's mostly like, I'm going to do the thing you tell me to do. I'm going to try to do it, even if you tell me it's wrong. And I kind of like that about Cliff, but he's not interesting, to say the least. Like, he's not going to drag you across the story, but it's not terrible. And I also think that this game decided not to focus on the story and focus more on its world and its gameplay. And I don't think that's an issue as well. People always like to say as well, it's not like Witcher 3 in its story. Well, Witcher 3 was more of a pick your own adventure type of story as well. And you played as Geralt. Yeah, it's not going to be like that. And there's not many games that are like that. It's not like Red Dead. I'm like, yeah, well, it's not like Red Dead either. It's not trying to be Red Dead. It's being its own thing, which is being Crimson Desert. And I don't think hating the game's story puts you off the game, because there's so many other things that I think work for this game. And the story is not that bad. Like, it's not that bad. It's okay. Maybe people make it sound like it's terrible writing, terrible characters, terrible world. Look, the world building is not that strong. It's actually probably the weakest part about it. You have to read a lot of the lore, the codex area of the game to really make sense of it, but it's not like the worst thing ever. I actually like a lot of the Greymane stuff. I like all the different Greymanes, what they all have to, all the different specialties they do. I really like that part of the story, where I think the political faction side of it is a bit weaker, but when you start to head into the Payloon stuff with the Black Bears and even some of the Black Crow stuff, I think those are all really cool and interesting things that is happening in the game. Now, when it comes to the graphics, we all have to say it, this game looks good. You can't deny it. The game looks really, really good. You start off in Hernan, which is this big, like grassland type of area, and it looks so, so good. But what I love about this game is its diversity in locations and just how they all like seamlessly blend into each other. Like you get to the sea area where the like big pirate battle is. I thought that area looked so cool as you're going from the top of the mountain down to the mountain to the seaside area. It looks so great. You then get to like the college area where the college is, and it feels like the whole area is in this big giant like cave, or not cave, but like kind of like the pit, because there's just giant rocky mountains all around it. And then you get higher up there, and then you get into the snowy area, the snowy part mountain area. And I was like, wow, this game is so good at having its different diversities. Like I haven't even touched the desert area yet. Like I know there's a desert area, I just not been to that side yet. And then you start to see all the different areas from Demonus and Pylon. They all have differences to them, and not just in the enemies. I love the enemy designs as well. I think they all look great. I like how they all differentiate themselves. You know, they fight the wolves, the bandits, the bleed bandits. You know, they all have differences and different styles on how they fight and how they look. I like the armor in the game. I think that all looks really cool. I love the cities. I love the NPCs. I think those are some of the best NPCs we have in an open world game. While some of them do stand around, a lot of them are moving, doing stuff, talking, having their own conversations. I like how sometimes you just see them doing random things that you wouldn't be expecting to have them do. The animals, their diversity that they have in the game and the biodiversity they have is also really, really good. I really like a lot of it. Overall, the game, it looks really good. And I can't say that I really have anything to say bad about the game and how it looks. I just think it looks really, really good. And like, even the thing I will say that doesn't really help me as well is like the nighttime of the game. It can be really hard to see, like really, really hard. But I just like, wow, you can see almost nothing in this game at night. Maybe I just have to change my brightness, but it's really hard to see at night. So when it comes to that, story, mediocre, but not the worst thing ever. Graphics, beautiful. And then we get into gameplay. Now, this has been another divisive thing about this game, is its gameplay. The controls, there's too many controls for it. The combat, not as fun as interesting. The enemies are just not that difficult. The boss fights are way too difficult. And I looked at myself and I said, well, the gameplay isn't really that bad. Now, in the beginning, I will admit that combat is pretty boring. You basically have three types of, I would say like 4 styles that the game has. You have the two-handed style, which basically has two-handed weapons. You then have the single weapon and shield combo. You have a ranged weapon, and then you have actual like fists, like you can use just Cliff's fists to attack. And that's basically kind of it. And at first, the combo, it can be very confusing. There's a lot of buttons that you have to remember, a lot of moves you have to remember, and it's kind of just not interesting done well. But as you start to level up, unlock more skills and abilities, and then start to use a lot of the gear system, which is kind of like buffs that you can add onto a weapon, but some gears also have abilities attached to them, then it becomes so much fun. I started to really move around with the two-handed weapons, then switching to my one-handed, jumping around using a lot more of my bow and arrow as I started to unlock those ranged abilities that can slow down time. Then using the palm fist. Upgrading the palm fist to like level 3 is some of the best ever because it can do so much damage. And then you switch over to do like the freaking wrestling moves, and doing the hand-to-hand combat stuff is so, so good. And then the gear system. So the gear system, like I said, are buffs that you can add to weapons. Like they can do like attack speed 1 or attack speed 2, or make attack damage even more. But some of them have special abilities, and you can actually stack abilities onto one weapon. So you can have like 3 different special abilities, or 4 or 5 different special abilities on one weapon, which is so much fun to play around in. Like you can do the wind attack and then the crow ability on one weapon, and the two-handed weapons usually have like 5 abyss gears. What I also like about this gear system is you don't have to spend any money on it. If you see a weapon or an armor set that you really like, but they have this, you really don't like it, but they got the abyss gear stuff on them, and you can just take that off and put it on another armor set, or the armor set that you're currently wearing now. I love this ability, and I love you don't spend money on it, because you can just take it off, put it onto something else as many times as you want. You do have to spend money to unlock other sockets, but I just love that you can just run around and just make a crazy weapon or a crazy build no matter what you do. And I think that's some of the best things about this game. The combat starts to open up. You start to feel the fluidity of what the game was. And all those different controls and the headache of trying to remember all of them, they become second nature. It's like people only played like a couple of hours or 10 hours into this game and really did not understand how much fun you can have with this combat if you just experiment a lot more. Even the ability, you get this ability where you have like a hand that can pull stuff from a far distance. When you unlock the ability to grab people from a distance, that becomes a game changer. You start to learn that you can actually knock people off of towers if you use a two-handed weapon and break the tower down. It can get really fun and really chaotic and really difficult as well, as the enemies can gang up on you, and the different enemies you fight later on, like the wolves, where they have way more stronger attacks and they can actually throw you around and actually use their melee attacks come into play, is so much fun. And then the boss fights are super difficult. But here's one thing I actually really like about Crimson Desert. You don't have to do them. The game never truly locks you into doing really anything. Sure, there's a mission, but you don't have to do it. For example, the Red Devil fight is one I hear a lot of people talk about how difficult and how sucky it is because it's so hard. Well, you don't have to do it. In fact, if you give up and just restart at the checkpoint, you can run back and then go back, level up, and just come back and fight the Red Devil again, which I think is so cool, you know. And then it comes to your armor sets. You can build some crazy armor stuff. Again, with the Abyss gear, the gear system, you can just make a crazy armor set that you can really love and really get into. There's so many things about this game and its gameplay that I super love and really adore. I love the exploration in this game. When people tell you this game is nothing like Witcher or anything or like Red Dead, I say it's more like Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild story is not that great, but its world and its exploration is so much fun. And the same is here. I haven't felt that amount of fun in exploring and wanting to explore since Breath of the Wild when it's come to this game. I just loved putting my mount somewhere, leaving my horse, and running around seeing what I can find. And there is so much that you can find, and so much that you can miss. From legendary armors that you can find, legendary animals that you can fight, the cool gears and cool gears that you can find, and weapons that you can get, special caves that are just like built into the world organically that you're like, whoa, what is that? And of course, the many puzzle areas that you can find in the game. And when I mean puzzles, I mean puzzles. There are so many puzzles in this game that you have to do. You walk in, you be like, what the heck do I have to do with this puzzle? And they hardly ever handhold you. But then there are a lot of puzzles that completely give you the answer. They're like, oh, this is the answer. You know what to do here. And I'm like, wait, what? Really? And I love that about this game. I love that you just walk in and you find a puzzle and now you have to freaking do it. I think that's the coolest part about this game. It's exploration that rewards you a lot. Then you find these abyss constructs or abyss items that are lying around in the world. And these things are like mini challenges. You do these on challenges and you unlock abyss. You unlock an abyss item that basically allows you to unlock more skills. And there's so much skills and so much ways that you can play. I love that you can just reset whenever you want. You hate the build you make? Well, just reset it whenever you want and unlock new abilities. Again, this game becomes way more fun the more you play it. And you really do have to play it. And when I mean play it, I mean not just only doing the main story. There is the main story, and then there's so much other stuff that's happening that you can probably never touch. The gray mains and the camping system is another thing. I love the camping system in this game. So basically, the camping system is kind of like you do these gray main missions to get more comrades, and these comrades will upgrade the camp and add way more stuff for you to do at the camp. So at first, it starts off very small. You can donate stuff to the camp, like money, timber, any materials that you have, and that will help build the camp up. Later on down the line, you can actually send comrades or gray mains to do missions for you, which will get you more resources that you can make use of. And then later down the line, you can build a wagon, you can build spears, you can unlock a farm. I just unlocked the farm and the ranch that you just unlocked now. And these stuff really build into it. And I really like this part of the game. Again, this is missions that are separate from the main story. You don't have to do the gray main missions at all. You can just do the main story. But doing these missions unlocks so much more of the game and so much more of a simulation vibe in it as well that I super love. And doing the side quests in the game are actually very useful. Not only do small side missions that seem pretty innocuous and not that big lead into bigger things like much more bigger quests and quests that gives you more awesome rewards, one of the best rewards is its expansion slots. Like you always get like a medium bag or one bag that will expand your expansions, your inventory, which is so big because you will pick up everything in this game. If you're not donating it to the camp, selling it, you're probably putting it in your house, which is a whole other mechanic that you can do in the game as well. I think there's so much here that I probably haven't even touched upon that you can just experiment with. And there's small things that I really, really like in this game. I like that you don't have to spend money on refinement or crafting items or armor. That's mostly done with materials that you super have. And I really, really like that. I like that you can just run around fighting enemies and leveling up that way as well. Or you can try to do the challenges to get a leg up and just reset whenever you want. There's so many things here in this game that if you think about it from a gameplay perspective, they have made a really fun, intricate, open world game that is so much fun to explore and navigate that I never truly got bored. I would say I'm going to play for an hour and then I would get lost for like 4 hours just running around doing nothing. And every time you get to a new area, you can go to it. There is nothing stopping you from going from one area to another. Sure, there may be some levels that could be difficult, but you are never level capped. You are only capped by the gear you have or how good you can play. You can go anywhere, at any point, at any time on the map. There's no progression that is halting you. There's nothing that's saying that you can't get there. You can probably find ways to get there. And I love the different ways that you can go through the game and explore and traverse the game. You can go on your horse. You can just run around, climb up the mountain. You can use the giant palm fist that jumps you up into the air 3 times and makes you fly. You can climb the crazy mountain. And in fact, if you see something in the area, you can probably go to that area. You see a crazy mountaintop area, probably go there. You can go there. You can see the down at the bottom of the ground. You can find your way and make your way there. You can go there and you will see the changes in the terrain. I loved standing atop of a mountain and just seeing all the different terrain, all the different ways that it works. And then there's still like the mining materials, cutting down on timber, the use of hunting in the game for hides, and you can even skip a lot of that if you just go and buy the stuff and the material. Overall, there's so much fun to be had here, and I love a lot of this game. I do understand some of the frustrations, but a lot of those frustrations gets ironed out the more you play the game, and the more you jump into it and invest into the game and actually explore a lot of the mechanics, a lot of it really starts to make sense that I really, really like. But it's not, I would say, all perfect. Like I said, I do think that the combat in the beginning is super slow and not as interesting. You really have to invest a lot into the different combat systems and mechanics if you really want to get the most out of it. But again, the good thing is you can get a lot of XP and a lot of XP, but a lot of items to basically unlock skills much quicker. I don't really like the observing of skill things. I think it's a nice concept. Basically, this is a mechanic in the game where if you find somebody or observe somebody, you will unlock that ability without having to spend any actual skill or any actual things on items on it. But you can do it earlier. Like there are certain skills, like the belly flop from the air. You actually get that if you fight one of the pirates later on. But you can unlock the skill much earlier, which I kind of also like. The only sad part is some items, some areas are completely locked by the system. Like you are completely locked and you cannot unlock it unless you observe it, which I do think kind of does suck. I spoke about how at night it can be really hard to see. Couple that with it raining, it can be sometimes impossible to see at all. Like it can be really tough. I remember fighting the pirates in pitch black darkness and I wasn't able to see anything. It was one of the hardest things to do. But I also kind of liked it at the same time. It prevented a lot of challenge that I liked in the game. The lantern is a very nice concept, in theory, in my opinion. It's one of the biggest items and most important items in the game. You use a lantern to check for mission quotas, see where there are interesting areas, and most importantly, light up areas in dark and light places. The worst part about it is that it doesn't really work. You have an auto feature that is supposed to have the lantern off during the day, and then at night it switches on automatically. I tell you, this feature works like 50% of the time. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Like your lantern will be on during the day, it'll be on at night, even though you have the feature of the auto system on as well. And then sometimes I wish that the map would just like would just add some stuff, like show you things that you have been to before. To be fair, you can place markers down, but I would like that if you could have named those markers so you could just know where you are. And as for inventory, while you can get a lot of space, you will always have some of the most random things in here as well. Like just the random, you always have for some reason a pickaxe or an axe that you can cut down trees. Even though later down the line, you can actually use your two-handed weapons to cut down to cut down trees as well. I also have multiple stacks of armor, because sometimes I'm going to have one that wants to be fire resistance or ice resistance. Sometimes I'll have this. I wish you could do something different with that, but isn't that interesting? And lastly, the cooking thing. I love the cooking in this game. The cooking is the thing that is the most important. Like, you use cooking to heal mid-combat. It's the only way you can really heal besides some elixirs that you can get. And overall, it's great. I love it, but I will admit that sometimes it can be pretty annoying if all you're trying to do is heal and you getting bombarded. Like, the enemies attack you relentlessly at all. Look, I think this game is definitely worth your time. I do. I think if you know what you're getting into, you know what you want, it is worth the investment, worth the money, worth playing into it. But you have to put your time into this game. Like, if you're only going to play it for an hour and not really jump into all the mechanics the game has to offer, it can be pretty annoying. The story can be pretty boring. You won't even touch any of the grey main stuff or any of the side quest stuff. You would think that the inventory sucks when you can actually get so much inventory space just by doing small missions here and there. You would think the combat sucks if you only play like the first couple of hours. But if you actually invest into the combat, it becomes so much fun, so much fluidity, so much experimentation that the game has. The game never holds back on letting you try to do the dumbest things that you can. But it also never tells you what you can and cannot do, which can be a huge issue for some people. Like, some people will just like never know. Could I jump on this wall here? Could I use the 3D palm strike to jump into the air? And at other points, the game gives you explicit details on how to do a lot of stuff. Now, before I go off, I want to talk about Perlibus themselves, the developers behind the game. I will say this. They are putting a lot of developers to shame on how much they update this game. Seriously, the amount of updates and patches and changes they have done to this game has made it a completely different game. If you hated how the character run in this game, trust me, they've changed it. If you hated the stamina system and how the stamina sucked because when you were flying they took so much stamina you hardly ever used the glide, that's been changed. While it still takes stamina, it takes way less stamina. They've added in so much stuff, so much changes, so much balances to the game that I can't believe they've done it within a couple of weeks. Within the first week, we had a huge patch that added in so much changes to the game. Within the second week, another patch that changed how the character run, stamina systems, and added in a bunch more mounts. And in this last patch they just added in, they changed even more stuff. They've added in some more mounts, they've changed camera stuff, camera bindings, they've changed visuality onto the character that you have, so you can take his helmet off during cutscenes, or you can display just the items that you have equipped, because you always hated having the shield on your back. They changed camera settings in here. For example, if you hate how the camera always shows your character to the left, they've changed it where you can actually put the camera right behind your character, and you can actually make it like a close-up God of War game. They've added in those stuff. They've put a lot of developers to shame with how quickly they're willing to listen and make changes to the game for the better of it. And some of these changes are small, and some of these changes are so big that you're like, wow, I really like a lot of what they've done here. I gotta say, if you played it only within the first couple of days and thought it was for you, jump back in and see how many changes they've done. You might not even notice the changes that they've added into it. You might notice all the crazy stuff they've added into it. There's so many fun things that this game has that people just don't play because they hate the story. And I'm like, well, I'm not really here for the story. I'm here for a fun gameplay experience. Overall, I love Crimson Desert. I needed to put this video out there because there was going to be nothing on the channel for the next 3 months because I was just going to be playing this game. If you guys want to see more videos like this, please subscribe to the channel, give the video a like. We're so close to 500 subscribers. And of course, do tell me if you like this type of video where I'm just rambling for like probably, I don't even know how long this video is, me just bringing out my thoughts. And also tell me down below, do you like Crimson Desert? How long have you played it? Have you jumped back into it ever since again? How much are you liking the updates? Because I have to say, they've added in so much fun updates to the game. I'll see you guys in the next one.